Hello everybody, this is my first edition of what I would like to call a series 10 years later, where I take cartoon characters and I draw them what I imagine they would look like in a couple of years. I thought I would start with Rick and Morty, but obviously Rick will probably be dead in 10 years, so I thought I'll do Summer and Morty. This is just a quick pencil sketch I did of Summer, just as a very plain and simple drawing. Kind of imagine her to be a kind of punky. You can kind of see how she would end up not exactly being too following the establishment, if that makes sense. I also took a lot of inspiration from Space Beth in her design and kind of her mannerisms. So that's the quick pencil sketch I just did. Then moving on to the more digital drawing. I figured give her some piercings. She'll probably have that more punk aesthetic like I was speaking about. Al Plaster, I would imagine that at this point in her life she's probably part of a group. She's always wanted to fit in. She's probably part of some group that's trying to overthrow things. She's probably a criminal. I mean, I think it's undoubtable that she'd end up going that route. I thought I'd give her combat boots, combat pants, and then start off with almost a chest plate to kind of show that she's in the future. She's, in space, and she's part of that world. She's not exactly from Earth anymore. So just gave her a gun. Figured she'd probably be using a gun. Yeah. Now here we start with some colouring. She's got a classic hair. I didn't think I would mess around with it too much. Thought about adding some hair dye maybe, but I figured, no, I think it's perfect just the way it is. As you see, she's got a robotic arm. That's just plating, just to add a bit of thing. She's got the fingerless gloves, which is obviously a classic. Yeah, she's got the combat pants. I wanted to stick true to her color, her pink. I figured that if she's choosing that color now when she's in this mindset, there's no reason that she would change that later. So I figured I'd give her a bit of a robotic arm. You can really accentuate the nice pink coloring. I mean, this is very, very much inspired by Space Beth, as you can see in the corner. She's got that very robotic, and the green I wanted to include because the pink and the green are just beautiful together. I started with one shade for the gun, and then I figured, no, you know what, it's not exactly the right kind of color. It just didn't seem right, so I decided to change it rather. Let's see now, sort of do a full recoloring. I also try to add a bit of a light effect to the gun to make it seem a bit more interesting. Let's see now, I did a full coloration of recolor of the gun. I thought this almost darker greenish grey kind of looked more metallic and it looked a little dirtier, maybe a little more used, which I thought was quite nice. A lot of the stuff I kind of mess up, and I don't ever use a drawing pad. I just use my mouse, and that's why I have to start off with the pre-existing drawing just so I can have a nice basis. But eventually, the more I do this, I will eventually get a drawing pad. I think that'll almost called it a Wattpad, but you know what I'm talking about, a Wacom pad is what I was trying to say. So these boots, I started off very simple. I thought maybe I'll just give them a very simple design. Then I just looked at the designs of the Vindicators. I forget his name now, but the main Vindicator, and I figured I would use his boots as the design that I would try emulate. A bit of that pink's kind of standing in the boots just to have it through nice. And that's the final design. I think it's quite nice. It's kind of what I imagine. It's a bit rough, but I'm sure that in future drawings I'll get a bit better. Maybe clean it up. Maybe I'll do a different new version of this later. Yeah, now with Morty. I think with Morty I was a lot more excited to get going because I figure that he will be pretty traumatized by the time he is late 20s, maybe early 30s. He's seen a lot of stuff. I mean, at this point in his age, I mean, the fact he's not, and the fact he hasn't even tasted alcohol yet or had any effects of drugs means that as soon as he discovers alcohol, I think he's going to be pretty infatuated with it, much like his old grandpa. Yeah, so a lot of that are kind of emulated. You'll see the classic Rick, what would you call it, spillage from the mouth. I figured he'd kind of have a longer hair, but obviously he's got that. I've always thought his hair seemed curly, so I've given it a bit of a longer look than curly. Yeah, I kind of wanted to go for that futuristic schlob. Not sure exactly if schlob is the word, but yeah, kind of that more futuristic look of a loser. A big kind of influence in this, I think, was Star-Lord. Just in the kind of, maybe not exactly the design, but just felt when I imagined him, I kind of thought that was one of the key marks. And also, it's kind of hard to do a space adventurer character without looking at Indiana Jones or trying to copy that. So he's got his little jacket, which I was kind of going to go for, like that nice brown. Yeah, I think he'll probably have those boots. It's a pretty laid back look. It isn't too focused on futuristic stuff like Summers, but I don't think Morty will be that. I think he's more of a criminal. He's in trouble. He's not exactly out there causing trouble. I think he's got himself into trouble now with Rick, and he's just trying to escape it. So I gave him the portal gun because I figured, why on earth would he need to have any other kind of weapon if he's got the portal gun? And he isn't exactly going out there trying to get himself into trouble. So yeah, I was stuck with the pretty base, simple colors. I gave him a little scratch on the cheek, just add a bit of character. I figured that was quite nice. I still wanted to stick with his main colors because I think that's one nice thing about when you design the characters older. You kind of know, okay, in real life they probably wouldn't still be wearing the exact same colors, or but it's the colors of the character. You kind of got to stick with it. I gave him a little flask. I don't want him carrying around a beer bottle the whole time. I figured he'd have a flask. Still want to stick with the blues. I didn't decide to give him the white boots, the white sneakers. I didn't think that really made sense. So that's not really what I stuck with. But yeah, I gave him a nice little brown jacket, which kind of started out quite plain and simple. And then once I finished drawing it, I thought I needed to add a bit more textures. So I kind of, there's the boots. Yeah, I decided to go for that nice brown because I thought that went with the boots. And I gave it a little metal, a little futuristic, not too much. But yeah, these jackets were kind of inspired. That collar was inspired by Rick. Is it Rick? From Blade Runner. Oh, now I'm going to look like a fool. But yeah, and the nice little paneling, and yeah, that is what Morty looks like 10 years later. Yeah, I'm quite happy with the design. Please, guys, I'm going to try to do more of these. I'm starting out kind of quite basic, but I'm hoping that the more I do this, the better it'll get. And yeah, tell me if you guys want anything more in the comments. Thanks.